Hi, I'm Robin.
And I'm Kristen. Oh, and today we're talking about wings.
Wings.
So we are, fully prepared to discuss our deep dive. I'm gonna give you a forewarning. There's a possibility this could be a long episode, and if so, then we'll have a part 2 next week. But let's just go ahead and get into it. So Wings starts off actually before we get into the songs, let's talk about what the album is actually based off of.
Okay, yes.
So,
Yeah.
our
Yes.
literary leader,
Yes.
RM, he's this album was based off of the book Demian
Yeah.
by Herman Hesse.
Yes.
And there's a lot of parallels between the characters in the book and the members of the group especially in their solo work. They talk about the stages that the main character goes through in the book, and each song sort of represents those pivotal moments of the character's life in the storyline. And we're not going to get too much into that. It's just I feel like that's worth noting.
Oh, absolutely. And also, there's parallels in their lives, like
The storyline.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Right. The
storyline.
storyline.
Not their actual like
No.
personal lives, but the
No. The
storyline that they
storyline
have
lines. Yeah.
between the HYYH, Wings, and Love Yourself eras.
Mm-hmm,
All
mm-hmm.
of the music videos that kind of tie together to create this big picture story, which it also includes like their webtoons and some of the other works that they have
Right.
to kind of take this storyline, across all these years. So yes, so that's where Wings is coming from.
That's the basis.
That's our foundation, I guess, for Wings. And we'll start off very strong with an intro, Boy Meets Evil.
Before we go into that, this was released October 10th, 2016, and actually that was 5 months after the release of
Young
Forever.
Forever,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Well, they do
that
spit out albums pretty
oh yeah,
quickly.
they do really quickly.
The
But it kind of it's there's the understanding of maybe why, because of
flow.
the flow of them. So
Yeah.
they it was very much so that it kind of picked up where Young Forever left off. So um I want I like to get that out.
Yeah, no, I do, and
I
I
like to get
appreciate it
that.
because not only do I need to know, because sometimes I forget, but also you probably want to know, if
Yeah.
you didn't know already, when the album came out and kind of what was going on with the members, with the group as a
Yeah.
whole at that time. So yeah, that's it. Like I said, the storyline within the different eras, it goes from the most beautiful moment in life through Wings and into the Love Yourself series.
Right.
So there are going to be a lot of things that are based off of previous albums, and as well as introducing new things. And then of
Right.
course the books that they're based off of, because they are based off of books.
Yeah.
Literary references all throughout.
All throughout. Yes.
So it's good to note that stuff.
Yeah,
It's good to make sure that we mention that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as you were saying,
Again,
Boy
trying to
Meets
get into
Evil.
Boy Meets Evil intro.
Yes.
All right,
Intro,
so
yeah.
J-Hope has this intro,
Yes.
and it is an intense, dark intro.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a shock for the opening of an album, especially an album like this. But the basis of the storyline, or the basis of the song, I put some notes here. It's about temptation, and again, the storyline from Demian, where he does face temptation in his early years. It's his first encounter with temptation and human evil, and he's trying to figure out understanding that. So this kind of was like a representation of that. We go into starting off the first verse. I put a note like being consumed by a childhood dream that became an obsession, and the ambition to achieve the dream became more than just the focus. The greed of the greed of the desired outcome takes over. He's lost sight of who he is.
Yeah. And I wrote what appears to be appealing can actually be a gateway to ruins. So that's where the temptation is in, and that's what I had gotten out of that first book.
Especially in that line, this
Right.
love is another name for the devil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
And
dark.
another thing too, with this being J Hope's intro, the last few albums where RM had his, and
And
I really,
Sugar
really
had
heard,
his.
and Sugar had his, and I had the opportunity to really hear Sugar in his. And it kind of gave me, a little bit more insight just to his style. Hearing them individually rap through a whole song helps me to be able to identify their voices
No, I
and their
understood.
flows.
Yeah, I understood.
And in this one, it helped me understand J Hope's, and I'm hearing more because of things going on in
Present
his
day.
present day, right? So
Present
this
day
is
presence.
yeah, right. And so it helped me to so I liked it. I liked his flow. I liked hearing him. I liked hearing just the differences in his tone and the forcefulness and the easiness. I liked it.
I
I
think
liked
because
it.
this is the first album that they have solo tracks
Right,
throughout, and
right,
so
right.
we do get to hear more of them individually, and we'll
Absolutely.
talk more on those songs.
Mm,
But because J-Hub has this intro and then he has a solo track, you get two solo songs for him essentially.
two knockouts.
Yeah, and it's one thing I've noticed about J-Hope is that his style um has grown on me. I can hear there's certain things that he does when he raps that I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, that's J-Hope.
That's a help. Yeah.
And there's just like Suga and RM, there's certain things that they do
Yeah.
that you're like, okay,
You can
yeah,
catch that.
I
Yeah.
know that tone,
Hmm.
or I know that, the way they do that cadence.
Right.
Sugar's huge. Like his cadence, I'm always going to come back to that because he's got a flow that's just, in my opinion, unmatched. But I love how he speeds it up
Mm.
and then brings it down, and his tone and his voice just kind of like,
Yes.
it's so satisfying.
It
But
is.
enough about
It
Sugar because we're talking about J Hope.
is.
So
Sorry,
we're
Jay.
sorry, Jay, I got distracted. But yes, okay. So going into verse 2, because those lips were too sweet, I underlined that. And I know it has been a while, maybe a little over a week since we talked about this song, but I put, my note was the devil's temptation, is it the promise of success? And
Yeah.
then following up with that,
Yeah.
and being drunk in love. And then when I woke up, I was already surrounded by landmines, surrounded by people's stare that can't be touched. And I put, it was a trap, a hell disguised as paradise,
Guys.
revealing its true design.
Right.
And and then the last one, I didn't want to let go of the devil's touch. And see that one, because I put doubt that the success could be achieved on his own, opting for the guaranteed outcome, knowing it will lead to destruction.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is I feel like now we're getting into like the deeper side of
Hmm.
BTS, the more impactful side. And again, I feel like this was by design because our reader RM,
Hmm.
he's always in a book. He's always pulling things from stories or novels he's read, and he's also very much into art, so he's pulling things from art that he's seen,
Yes.
and he wanted to kind of continue those stories or that art through the music.
But he matches it up so very well.
And then that's the thing, like, I
Mm,
feel like because it feels like a continuation of whatever he was basing it on.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
so when you look at this, I mean, it's definitely coming from the character's perspective, facing that temptation and being kind of thrilled with it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
having that moment where you're struggling, like, do I want to go back to how I was? Do I want to be good, or should I just stay here because it's nice here?
Yeah.
And of course,
That's true.
temptation is always going to seem nice
Yeah.
in the moment.
Hmm.
It's the bigger picture. And so this is really a matter of looking at the bigger
Picture.
picture and determining whether or not the outcome then, in the future, is worth
Right.
risking for the
Right.
pleasure now.
No.
I guess, long story short, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not.
So that was my notes. Did you have anything to add on?
Not particularly on that verse because you really covered that really nicely. And but the refrain here is it highlights the paradox nature of youth love. It's tempting and desirable, but also potentially harmful or destructive.
Mm.
And that's too bad, but too sweet.
Yeah.
So that refrain just like it over and over and over again. Too bad, but it's too sweet. Too bad, but it's too sweet. So that's that idea of staying there.
Mhm.
Feeling bad, but knowing it's in a comfortable
Like it
spot.
feels good, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then did we look at the performance of this, his dance to this? I can't remember if we did. I think I've seen it before, but
Describe it to me real
where
quick.
he's dancing and then every time he does a move like the
Oh
ground
yes,
breaks and
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. This we did watch that. We
Okay.
did watch that,
We
and that
obviously
was the
love J-Hope's dancing.
yeah,
He's amazing.
yeah.
If you've never seen him dance, first off, shame on you. You should watch him dance. You should
Yeah,
watch
you watch him
just
dance.
Google or
Yes.
YouTube any J-Hope dancing video. You won't be disappointed, I promise. But the artistry in his dance and how he's conveying the meaning of the words in his movements,
Mhm.
and he goes from the light to the dark, he goes
Yes.
from the subtle to the intense,
Yes.
and
From the
it's
together to the
yeah,
breaking
and
up.
it's
Yeah.
just it's so
Yeah.
masterfully done.
Mhm.
When it comes to dance, J-Hope and Jimin are like the
Oh,
geniuses
we can't.
of dance in this group.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are phenomenal
Yes.
dancers, and you get the story even if they don't sing any words. You still get the
Right.
full story.
Funny you say that, even though they don't sing any words, because I think about Jim and I look at some of his contemporary dancing,
Mm,
and I say, you don't have to know anything about
the language,
right.
yeah.
He dances the words, even if you don't know the words.
I love it
And
because dance is universal.
yeah,
Dance
it
is a
is.
universal
It is.
language.
It
You'll
is.
figure out
Just
what they're
like
saying.
just like music, but those arts just kind of run through together.
Mhm.
And he is. I enjoy Jim. I enjoy his lines, his movements. He is so fast
He is.
in
He's
on
so
his
quick.
feet. Yeah.
We
But
keep getting distracted by other members of the group. We're talking about J-Hope. They
J-Hope,
are
we
one,
love
okay? They
you.
are all
We
one.
love you,
They're
J-Hope.
all one entity. You can't
Yeah.
have one without the other.
Yeah.
But it is hard to not gush about Jimin's dancing because
Yeah.
it's beautiful. But J-Hope's dancing is also beautiful
It
in a
is.
different way.
Yeah.
It's the intense hip hop, the subtle hip hop. I love when he throws in like subtle moves and you're just like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
It's small but powerful. So in a way that Jimin is small but powerful in his contemporary, J-Hope is small but powerful in his hip hop
Yeah.
moves.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
he's strategic about his moves, and
Very. Yeah.
I
I
do love it.
I would concur.
I thoroughly enjoy watching J-Hope. You also will thoroughly enjoy watching
I
J-Hope.
mean, yes.
So go watch J-Hope.
Yes.
Okay, so going on to the next track.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
So this is the title track for the album.
Mm-hmm. It's the title
And
track,
this
yeah.
was a very interesting music video.
Yes.
Just like oozing and dripping with references to Demian.
Right.
All throughout.
All throughout.
All
Yes.
throughout.
Yeah.
I guess if you don't really pay attention to the origin of or the foundation of the story, the music video, like I did the first time I watched it, the music video makes no sense. And,
Right.
and it's very, very confusing.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful to watch. It's very artistically done.
Yes.
And of course, they look great and their dance moves are great and they sound great. But when you're putting them in those situations that they're in, the way that they're paired up, the rooms that they're in, and the
Yeah.
meanings behind it, it all ties
Okay.
back to the story and to their solos, which have to do with the
Yes.
story.
Yeah.
So after learning that and after kind of doing this deep dive into the lyrics and understanding the book, I'm not gonna lie, I did not read the book.
No.
But we did have some cliff notes.
Yeah.
And we did consult some YouTube professor
Yes, we did.
on that to try to get a better understanding of how the album ties into the story and vice versa. or
It
the story ties
ties
into
into
the album.
album,
Sorry, not
which
vice
ties
versa.
into the book.
Yeah. So we did get a like surface level understanding of it,
Yes.
but yes, we could see now after having that exposure to that understanding, the music video makes a little bit more sense.
It does. And it when we were watching the video, the music video, like you said, we didn't really understand, but as we, did that deeper dive into the meaning, the understanding,
Mhm.
the symbolism is and all those things,
Oh, the symbolism.
it was it kind of brought us down a little bit. Remember?
We talked about this in the last few
Yeah.
album episodes. This whole storyline got dark.
Yeah, it
It
got
got
dark.
dark. It
Got
started to
real
get
dark real
it started
quick.
to get real for us
Yeah.
because now we were
Yeah.
looking at things that we recalled from our transition from youth into adulthood.
Yeah.
And things that we remember feeling. And so it just kind of jogged a lot of old kind of beliefs that we had and old memories that we had. So it did bring us down. And then their storylines are really intense. And I don't know how to
Very
go
intense.
into all of it without sitting here for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of videos on YouTube that explain the HYYH Wings Love Yourself storyline.
Right.
And if you want to do that deeper dive, you could just watch all the music videos
Yeah.
and then go into their webtoons. And then they have all of the intros for the Wings era and all the solos. And there's a lot of content that you can watch
that you can watch
that
and
we
get
didn't even get through
all of it. Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much. But that would explain the storyline, and then you'd understand the stories the characters are going through. And there's alternate universes, there's time travel, there's
It's Marvel.
it's Marvel. I think
Super.
I think all of this happened at a time where Marvel was at that peak for like
Yeah.
alternate
Yeah.
universes and
Yeah.
time travel. So that
It
makes sense.
and it would be a good, like, if you just have a Saturday, that you're not
For like several months. Okay,
okay.
like
I mean,
if we're being
I'm
real,
good.
you'd
Well,
have to
it is.
devote a Saturday for several months.
It's just, if you really really want to, if you're new to Army and you really want to understand this time, these eras, and the songs and what they mean, and just what's behind them, the meaning, the underlining, it would really give you a better understanding. I mean,
To YouTube it, yeah.
and actually there was one I had to watch a second time because and I better understood the second time, but it was really um it was gratifying and interesting, and it was just it really took you in. It really took you
Yeah.
in.
It was a crazy jump for us to go from the type of songs they were singing about, like the rebellious songs that they were singing about in the earlier albums, to go to these really intricate character and then character development,
Right.
these situations that were happening to their characters, how they how they maneuvered that within the storyline. And we're still going through it because, like we said, it goes all the way through the Love Yourself series.
Right.
So
Right.
there's a lot of information out there about the storylines from HYYH all the way through to Love Yourself. Check it out, because it's a way to kind of understand how they think when they get into these creative processes. Which is crazy because they could just write songs about love and happiness and everybody would still probably be ecstatic about them. But when you look at the theming of their music and the messaging that they're portraying, they're not only just singing to you like, hey, life is hard, we all get it and stuff like that. No, they're giving you, like, it's kind of like a demonstration.
Yeah.
Like they're giving you these scenarios that may or may not be real for you personally, but it's somebody out there who has experienced those
somebody's
sort of
reality.
situations.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they're just kind of adding more to the story, adding more to the messaging, kind of reiterating the messaging and further
Yeah.
emphasizing it. So I mean, I totally understand now, how they appeal to so many different types of people, because
Yeah.
everybody has a story of a hardship that they've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're looking at these lyrics of these songs, and I'm sure that when we get into the Love Yourself series, it's going to be even more of a hard hitting, messaging about loving yourself and your love for others and others' love for you. I don't want to touch too much in that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they really are impactful with their messaging. They really are precise with their wording, and it's all genuine. You can feel that it's legit. You don't ever question whether or not it's just for show. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the appeal for them because you feel it's authentic.
Yeah.
You feel
I
it.
agree. I agree. Well, let's get into this.
Yeah, because we haven't talked about it at
Yes,
all.
yeah, we haven't. We haven't.
Okay.
But I put RM's explanation. The song shows how one thing grow. I'm sorry. Oh, explains that the song shows how one thing chooses and grows. It suggests the journey of self discovery and the inevitable uncertainty that comes with making difficult choices.
Hmm.
So yeah, and this, and I was saying, oh, the part about peaches and cream sweeter than sweet chocolate. We invented
That was a really
chocolate
yeah.
cheese and chocolate
Chocolate wings.
wings. But your wings are the devil's. I said this could be symbolizing the duality of desire and temptation. Did you wrote on that as well?
Did I? I don't
I
remember.
think
I probably did.
in the allure of something pleasurable, while the bitter side highlights the potential of consequences or drawbacks associated with the desires.
Mm. So my notes, I put breaking up that first verse. Um, in Sugar's part, he's basically saying, I'm no longer my own person. I've succumbed to the temptation. I've sold my soul. I belong to you now. And then you get into RM, who talks about being tempted by the fruit or the sweet things, giving in to what will temporarily satisfy. Chocolate wings are useless. They serve no purpose other than visually pleasing.
Mhm.
And then get into J Hope's part. And he says, I don't care about the pain. I'll numb it away by drinking you in fully, giving in to the temptation. In essence, losing their humanity.
Mm.
And then my overall thought on the song, because I didn't really get into verse 2 because it was just kind of reiterates verse 1 to me. But
Yeah.
the song is about giving into a temptation, knowing the consequences, and choosing the poison, and giving up reality, sacrificing humanity for their ill-gotten pleasure. In the end, will it be worth it? And I think that's the question to take away: is it worth it? And going back to that, temporary satisfaction or the right now satisfaction,
Mhm.
instead of the outcome being good, but now you have that temporary or that right now satisfaction,
Right.
and you don't want to pay attention to the end result, which is going to be bad because that's down the line. It's
That's
not
down
something
the
you have to
line.
worry about right now, but you do.
Yeah.
You
Always
do.
think about it.
Oh, and then we get
Go
into
to
the
the
solo
solos.
songs.
Yes.
So we start with JK
JK.
with Begin. And this is a beautiful song, which kind of seems weird when you have the first two that you talked about. You're thinking
Yeah.
about the theming of that, and then you get into JK's song. But it's still a very beautiful song. It is a love song. It's a love letter and a thank you letter to his older brothers, the other members of BTS. So the song is about him coming in to BTS as a young person. I think he says I was 15. Yep, when I was
Yeah.
15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
A child, and he's the
Mm-hmm.
youngest in the group,
And yeah.
and they had to step in and kind of raise him in a
Right.
way. And this is his song recalling that process, recalling everything he learned from them, and thanking them for the lessons.
Yeah. Because when you think about it, I mean, during that time, going to where his situation was at that time, because he was with them all the time. They were together. They lived together. They worked together. He did his studying. They helped him with that, and so he wasn't, as he was getting older, and he was in his teen years. he didn't have his core family, his nuclear family, his parents
Mm-hmm.
doing that
Yeah.
for him or helping him through that. So the guys became that source
Mm-hmm.
of that life lesson, you know,
And those are
teaching him.
such
Yeah,
pivotal years because
yeah,
you learn so much about yourself. Who you become is kind of molded in those years.
yeah,
And to to have the influence that he did, I mean, there's so much luck that went into them coming together as they did. I feel like they each needed each other in a certain way, but he learned so much from all of them
mm,
at a point where he really had to figure out who he was going to become. And they were such great influences, even though they were, I mean, the next oldest were only 2 years older,
yeah,
and then Jen was only what, 5 years older.
yeah,
it's it's insane when you look at how much he learned from them, and there wasn't a huge age gap. They had to learn those things on their own too and figure
right.
those things out as they were figuring out who they were going to be in this world. And then to teach somebody else, it's a mind-blowing concept. But I sometimes I wonder, like, who would he be now if it had been anybody else?
Mm,
If it had been,
yes,
and RM was so pivotal in who JK became, because I mean, if you don't know the story, JK joined
right.
because
Because
he heard a rap from RM and he said,
hmm
I will go where that guy is. Wherever
yeah,
he is, I want to be where he is. And to see RM's potential, and I think JK was only 13 at the time. And
yeah.
so,
The
he
influence
said,
he had.
he said, okay, this person, I will follow them to the ends of the earth. They are the strength I need to guide me.
Right, right.
And I mean, that's a lot of responsibility to fall on somebody who's barely coming into adult. I think he was still 18
Mm,
or 17 at the time. So like he's young himself, but he managed to lead these six young boys, and now look
in
at them.
such a way,
Yeah,
yeah.
now look at them. Like, big props to RM. RM deserves
Y-
all the kudos.
and I was gonna say, I know I had said this to you guys um as you were growing up,
Mm,
and I know I've said it to other young parents that in elementary school you go through those 6 years of being with the same group, and it generally are people that are within your living vicinity, like the
mm-hmm,
neighborhood, and the, the way things are done is pretty much similar. The about the way they live their life.
mm-hmm.
What you usually hear from your friends is probably stuff you hear from your parents, because
They're all in the
it's all
same
the
area
same,
geographically and everything.
right? And then you go into junior high school, and then from junior high school you get the outside influences, because from other schools and other
Mm-hmm,
areas, because now you're putting together a bigger group of people. The community is larger as far as the
mm-hmm,
kids are concerned. And then you go into high school and the community becomes larger,
mm-hmm.
because you have kids now from even the same junior high school or middle school,
But now
but
another.
then other
Mm-hmm,
junior high school and middle schools into one high school. And he was at the beginning of that. So
mm-hmm.
at 15 he was going into that larger community,
Of high school, yeah.
right? High schoolers, and without his parents but his brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and they were doing, I guess, what they learned and more. So that was a lot for him, because he had a tremendous amount of influences
Mm-hmm.
around him, and but that was his core, because
Yeah,
that's where he lived,
that was
that's where he
home.
worked. Right, right. So but yeah, I go ahead and finish. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Well, I mean, did you have anything else to add to that?
I piggybacked or either dittoed you in looking back on his beginnings of his journeys coming into the group. He described the feelings of emptiness, numbness, and the senseless lack of vitality, emotion, and riches. So, and then I kind of broke that richness. I'm not riches, richness. And I broke that down to fear. So, okay, so what is that? And the vitality is the state of being strong, active, and having active energy. And the emotion, of course, the natural instinct state of mind, deriving from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others. And I didn't get to richness, but I can imagine that it probably meant that he received a lot of good nuggets
Mm-hmm.
from them.
Yeah.
And he this is what he was feeling and feel that he lacked, but he received it,
Mm.
through the love, care. I mean, they made his lunch for him.
They walked him to school and
Yes.
picked him up.
Yeah, so
They
yeah.
were his, his family.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are his
Family.
family.
So
I put in the chorus, his life began when he met BTS, and
mhm.
who he became is because of their encouragement, influence, and the lessons he learned from them, watching them navigate life. And then when you get into the verse 3, I can't bear it when you're crying. I want to cry in your
Mm,
place, even if I
mm,
can't.
mm.
He learned empathy.
He did.
He learned so many different emotions. And he has said several times that you can attack him all you want, it won't be an issue. But if he sees his brothers hurting,
Yes.
he can't sit down and just let it happen. Like
Right.
he gets into that fight mode. He wants to defend them and cry with them. He's and he feels that way about Army too. Like
Mm-hmm.
you
Oh yeah.
can't say a bad thing about
No.
Army in
No.
front of him, because the big dog will come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it also reminded me, so getting into the last chorus and how it changes from "you make me begin" to "you made me again."
Yeah.
And I put "he is reborn in their image."
Mm-hmm.
Which is such a crazy thing to
Okay,
say,
yeah,
but if you
that's
think about it, it reminds me of an interview he had with Suga on Suga's show Suchita,
mm,
and they were talking about how he is a culmination of all of them, and how there's certain things he does that is definitely from other members. And so he
yeah.
agreed. He said, JK sounds like each of them, or Suga said JK sounds like each of the members. JK said he hears them when he in the way he speaks, his word choices, his manner of speaking. And then I added a note, because if you ever look at JK in these interviews or these shows, he always looks as if he is mesmerized
Mm.
by the other members, especially in the younger years.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He just looks as if he is absorbing them like a
Right.
sponge.
Right.
And
Right.
now, as an adult, almost 30, is he almost 30 or is he 30?
Now
Whatever. I think almost 30. There's certain things that he does that you're like, oh, he got that from J-Hope, or oh, he got that from RM. That's definitely a Jimin thing, because he absorbed everything from them. And when you spend your time with certain people, eventually their characteristics or their mannerisms and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, word choices start to come out. You start to pick up their
Right.
slang and the way they move their hands, or the little attitude they give.
Mm-hmm.
And so you
Mm.
see that a lot with JK. You see a lot of other members, and there are a ton of compilation videos on YouTube of how he's mimicking the other guys, because he is that sponge.
Yeah.
And the love, it's all from a place of love and
Absolutely.
He definitely loves them. I mean, you could tell from the song.
Mm-hmm.
He loves them and holds them to such like a high regard.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I thought the song was beautiful, but when it immediately took me back to that Suchita episode. And yeah, he's just a little mini version of all of them. He is.
That's why he's the golden.
He is golden. I guess you could say he's the golden Maknae, because he took a little bit of all his greats and
all
then
the
made him a huge great. Like,
Yeah.
he is the great. Yeah. So I loved this song. It was such a great and beautiful song. And I never had brothers, but I have sisters, but it's a different dynamic.
It is.
But to have like that chosen family,
Yeah.
that he has, and he managed to get paired up with some really great human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
of course, as a result, he became a really great
Great
human
human
being.
being.
And
Yeah.
so, as a whole, they are just such a phenomenal and dynamic unit. And individually, they all excel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I could say a million and one great things about them, which is why I have this podcast. So
Yeah.
I can
So
say a
she can
million
say
and
it,
one
but
great
yeah.
things. But at the end of the day, when you really look at it, it is a familial unit. They are family.
Yes.
They are brothers. They are going to ride or die
Ride or
for each
die.
other.
Yeah.
And the love is so genuine between them. And they've all expressed how they are incomplete when one is missing.
Yes. Yeah.
They
They're
feel
so
the absence.
yeah. They're so used to that unit is that when they're not all together, you can feel it.
Hmm.
They feel it, and
So
they
I
they
know
the
they
desire.
experienced it in their solo projects, but even
Mhm.
before then, when
Mhm.
Suga was out on his surgery,
Yeah.
and they had different things that they had their schedule they still had to maintain, but the fact that and we'll see it in some of the later Run BTS episodes where he wasn't there for filming, they had a picture of him. They had a picture of him, and
He's here with us.
they included him in ways
Mhm.
in as many ways as they could. But even on the interviews or their stage performances or anytime they were in front of cameras, they put that space in their how they set up
Right, and
for
in their
him.
formations,
Yeah, in
yeah.
their formation to make sure that he never felt like he wasn't involved, and we as the audience never felt like, oh, they could do this without him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They definitely rely on each other, and they need each other. They are one unit.
Yeah. Yes.
OT7. OT7. Um,
57,
okay,
yes.
so let's go on to the next song. So we're getting into Jimin's solo Lie.
Mhm.
Another beautiful dance routine.
Yes.
Another beautiful dancer.
Yes. Yes.
We talked about it before.
Yeah.
And we'll probably keep talking about it till the end of time. Jimin is such a graceful and masterful dancer.
Yeah.
And this was such a beautiful display of his ability. The music or the intro, I think, or the music video for this, but also his stage performance for
Yes.
this. It's
Yeah.
just he's so dynamic.
He is.
He's just like you said, he's so quick. He's
He's
all
so
over the
quick. He's
place.
so quick. He's got
He
such great lines. His posture throughout the whole dance remains the
Mhm.
same. He is grounded yet blooming and blossoming and forming, and I mean he's a really
Mm.
good dancer.
I feel like that's such an
Yes.
understatement.
Yeah, yeah, I thought my emotion would help, but
No, I
it's
mean
just
no. I feel like
he's
there are so many big words that I want to
right.
use to
Yeah.
describe him, but I
Yeah.
don't know them all. But he deserves all the big,
Yes.
beautiful
Oh,
words to
yes, to
describe his
describe his
dancing.
dancing. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the song. So the song is called Lie. I don't know
Mm.
if that gives you any indication of what it's about.
Okay. Well,
But
yeah.
he starts off, first one, tell me with your sweet smile, tell me like you're whispering in my ear. Don't be like a prey, smooth like a snake. I want to get away. And I said he's speaking to the liar. Could be another person, could be himself
Mm-hmm.
at this point. And then you get into the pre-chorus, and I put denial. He doesn't want to be consumed by the lie, but it surrounds him. It has become him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just said that the song itself was the feelings of being trapped in a false reality. It portrays a mentally or emotional struggle to escape from a painful truth or a life built on lies. That's why.
That seems deeper than my analysis.
No, just a little
Just a
one.
little one.
Just a little, but no.
All right, so
Just,
then we get into the chorus. We both have notes on the chorus. So I'll just read the lyrics. Caught in a lie, finding the me that was pure. I can't be free from this lie. Give me back my smile. Caught in a lie, pull me from this hell. I can't be free from this pain. Save me, I am being punished.
mm,
Like, Jimin, what are you going through? I put, he wants to escape. The lie has changed his identity and he longs to be who he was before, to be free.
Yeah.
Mm,
And pretty much the same, a need to break free from the lie, a fracture in identity, someone that is in the present is not no longer who they used to be.
yeah, this, and then going into verse 2, I felt so much panic when I read this.
Mm.
Which is crazy, but it's an endless loop created by the lie, and I feel the anxiety. So the verse says, you want me, I've lost my way. You want me just like me every day. I feel so far away. You always come my way. It repeats all over again. So he's constantly being pulled into this lie. And every moment where he's like, I think I've got it, I think I've got it takes him back. It takes him further away from his reality.
Yeah.
And yeah, the anxiety I feel from just the fact that it's repeating all the time, like all of this turmoil.
Yes, over and over and over again. That's very webbing. Just holding on to that. I had put on the pre-chorus that emotional panic and internal chaos, pushing something away and feeling trapped by it at the same time. So you're trying to push it away, but yet it's here. It's trapping you. You can't move it away. Like your arms are not able to fight that fight for you.
The strength is gone.
Yeah. Oh wow. Me like that.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
But it's, I mean, if you think about it, it's exhausting. And his performance kind of does give way to that. The exhaustion you feel from not only just keeping up a lie, but the lie just eating at you to a point where now the lines are blurred. You don't even know reality anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's a consumption. You've been consumed by the lie. You have to, like, you want to break free, but at this point, are you in too deep? Which I actually noted on the bridge. I did, yeah. So in the bridge, he says, I am still the same person I was before. I am here, the same person I was from before, but an overgrown lie is trying to swallow me whole. And I put, he's in too deep. He could still feel the old him deep inside, but is he too far gone to be saved? And I felt that, and I feel like that's what he's trying to portray, is that he's kind of sinking. Okay, so I'm gonna give away my age here, but as a millennial watching cartoons growing up, quicksand was such a big thing in all of these cartoons. There was always some encounter with quicksand, to a point where I thought I was going to be encountering quicksand in my life. I never have. I don't even know where you would go to find quicksand or what even causes quicksand. But the point is that feeling of slowly sinking, and I feel like being in a lie is like being in quicksand. And I think I've heard, like, you shouldn't move, because the more you struggle, the more you sink in, the more it pulls you in, to a point where if the lie is just to that point where you just have to give up. And I feel like that's the thing with quicksand, is especially if you're by yourself, you just have to give up. Like, you just have to kind of face your inevitable fate. You're going down under the quicksand. And that's what this lie that he's referring to feels like for me, for him. Like, I feel like for him it feels like quicksand. And every time he struggles, he just gets pulled further deep, and then he's feeling the anxiety and the fear of being consumed by it, to a point where he's just like, this is now my life. I have to just kind of give up. There's no saving me.
But yet the fight is in there.
The fight is in there, but you have to, just like in quicksand, is it smart to fight?
Right. No, right.
Or just be consumed? And I think when you get towards the end of the song, it just feels like he's at that point where he's realized fighting is futile, and he just kind of succumbs to it.
Okay, that was good.
Thank you.
That was very good.
Poor Jimmy.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. And